So the next thing we have to do now is to work on what happens when a user imputes an invalid password, right? Because we don't just want to accept it that a password is something is invalid and just look up like that. We want the user to put in the valid thing, right? We want the user to always put in the valid thing. So if you put in something invalid, we're not just going to end there. We're going to tell you what you entered is invalid. Please enter a valid one, right? So before we do that, let's notice something here. So if you see here, if I don't want to enter my username now and I press cancel, it works, right? Cool. But it says because it's returning null. So you don't want to enter my username, I can cancel it, right? I don't get any prompts anymore, right? So yeah, we have 5 functions and to validate the 5 inputs from the user and everything works correctly. Now, let's look at this. So yeah, I have enter username. This enter username, if I don't want to enter anything and I click cancel, yeah, it cancels, right? I have an error here because obviously I didn't put in anything. So, and it cannot reach an empty string, right? You cannot use the length method on an empty string, so that's okay. So let's refresh. Now I don't want to cancel. I don't want to put in username and I don't want to cancel. If I click on OK, it takes me to email address. And I click on OK, it takes me to phone number. And I click on OK, it takes me to password, it takes me to confirm password, right? So I'm not entering the valid thing and I'm clicking on OK, but it is still taking me to the next one. I don't want that kind of thing. We want it to be that when you don't impute the correct thing, it don't just end here. It will ask you to put in the correct thing, right? This place is showing true because this is for confirm password. Password is empty. Confirm password is empty. So both of them matches, and that's why this place is returning true, right? So I want it to be that when the user does not put in the right input, it keeps on asking the user put in the right input. So what's going to happen right now is that we're going to use the values, the outputs of these 5 validation functions to work on the loop, right? To make it loop continuously. So yeah. So this outputs here, we're going to use it for the loop. So the first thing we want to do, we want to work on the username, of course, right? We want to work on the username and then make sure that if the username is not valid, the user imputes a valid one. So remember what I said about having 2 main functions? So we have to put all this inside the function, right? And the first function, we're going to name it get user details. We're getting user details, right? And all this validation should be in user details. We're not displaying details. So we're going to put all this inside a function, get user details, right? So function get user details. Cool. Yeah, and we're going to put in all this inside this function. So what this will also do is that it will not prompt the user when the browser loads, right? It will only prompt the user when this gets user details is called. That is when it will prompt the user. So if we refresh this now, you see, you don't get a prompt, right? You don't get a prompt. So it says unexpected token. So let's look at that. So let's take this. Let's paste it. Tab. Yeah, so it says unexpected curly braces. So let's look at where the error is coming from. So get user details. Yeah, so it's a function, right? So you have to put the parentheses there. So yeah, now we're not going to work with a while loop, right? With a while loop, because we want it to be that while the input is invalid, keep on prompting the user. While the input is invalid, keep on prompting the user. But once the input is valid, don't prompt the user again. So long the input is not valid, it will keep on prompting the user for the correct value. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make use of the validate function, the result of the validate function, right? So we're going to come here. So we already have let's username equals to prompt, right? So we can come here and say it's going to take in that value, right? So let's do it this way. So it's going to take in this, it's going to take in the username, and then it's going to validate it and have answers, right? So I can take away this console.log. I don't need it anymore. So now let's have a while loop here. So while validates username, right? Of course, you put in the username there, very necessary. So while validates username is equals to false, that it is not valid. We want the user to keep on, we want to keep on prompting the user to input the right value. So we call on username again here. Username equals to prompt. Prompt username, want to display a different message. Username, let's make this capital letter, right? So from the user again, username must be less than 10 and greater than 0, right? Let's just put 0 there. Must be less than 10 and greater than 0. So while this is invalid, it will keep on prompting the user to put in the valid one. So let's check that out. But if I refresh now, I'm not going to see any prompt, and there's nothing for it because it's inside a function, right? We have to call this function for it to work. So I'm going to go and I'm going to call this function in the fill in button. So I'm going to go to my index.html and I'm going to listen for events there directly. So I'm going to come here for button 1. I'm going to have this on click, call that function, get user details, right? So on click, I wanted to get the function user details. So anytime I click on the fill in button, which is the button 1, it's always going to run the code in the get user details. Yeah, it's going to run the code in the get user details. So let's go back here. Let's refresh. So let's close the console for now. We'll click here, fill in. Now it has called get user details. It's now saying input your username. Now let me put in something that doesn't make sense, right? Because username is supposed to be greater than 0 at least, right? So let me not put anything. See what happens. It says username must be less than 10 and greater than 0. You see? So now it will never leave this place until I put in the right thing, right? Until I put in the right thing, it will never leave here. So if I put in the right thing now, I am right. Okay, it now takes me to enter email address, right? Cool. So let's apply the same thing here for email address. So we're taking email address here, right? Let's space this a bit. So let me give this comment to help make my work better. So I'm going to have a comment here. get, let's just make it short, username, right? And here we have email address, right? Cool. So let's go to, so there we have email address. So I can take out this, don't need that anymore. My function works well. So it takes in the email address, right? And then checks it if it is valid and then returns true or false. So now I'm going to come here and use the output. So while valid, validates email, put in, so while that validates email, I'm going to put in my the email there, of course. So while validate email, is, because this should be in the brackets. So while validate email is equals to false. So while it is invalid, we want this to happen. We want to keep on prompting the user to put in right email. So prompt enter a valid email. So prompt enter a valid email. Yeah. Prompt enter a valid email. So cool. And then we want, so prompt enter a valid email. So while the why valid email is false, we want to prompt the user to enter a valid email. So just going to keep on prompting the user to enter a valid email. Enter a valid email. Cool. So it will keep on prompting the user, enter a valid email, until the email is valid. Yeah. So until the email is valid, from enter a valid email. So let's check this out. Let's reload this. Click on fill in. So I am big. Okay. We enter rubbish. It says enter a valid email. Enter rubbish again. Enter a valid email. Enter rubbish. Enter a valid email. So I have to put in a valid email for it to put in the next step. Enable the key. Gmail.com. Enter, and yeah, takes me to the next, like that. So the next thing I have to do now, let's give this give this a comment. Phone number. So let's give so phone number. So let's use we'll take this out now. Don't need this anymore. And then let's use a while loop here too. So while validates phone number, right? We'll put in the phone number there too. So while validate phone number is equal to false, we want to keep prompting the user to enter a valid phone number. So phone number, phone number equals to prompts phone number must be 11 digits, right? So we keep on telling the phone number. We keep on telling the user phone number must be 11 digits. Try again. Yeah, cool. That's okay. So we can just add a question mark, a exclamation mark. So cool. Yeah, so that should work. So I'm just going to label here password. So let's just add the while loop for password and confirm password before we test that. So let me take this out. I'm going to have my while loop here. So while validates I want validate password. So while validate password, putting the password there is equal to false. That is, it is not valid. We want to keep on prompting the user, right? To keep on prompting the user to input the right password. Prompts. Criteria says that password should not be less than 6. If it's less than 6, it returns false. So prompt password must not 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 be less than 6 digits. Let's put it that way. So password must not be less than 6 digits, right? So it keeps on so as long as it is false, it keeps on prompting the user with this message. So let's give this a comment. Let's give this confirm password. Yeah. So let's confirm password. Yeah. Let's take this out. We don't need this anymore. So we're going to have our while loop there. So while validates confirm password, put in the password there, confirm password. So while the result is equals to false, while it is false, we want to keep on prompting the user to put in a valid password. So prompt the user with the message prompt password prompt confirm password does not match password. Try again. Cool. So yeah, so we have used the loops, the while loops and conditional, while loop and conditional for the 5 inputs, right? So let's try that. Let's click on fill in. So we have username. So by putting something wrong, it says password must be less than 10 or greater than 0. By putting nothing, it tells me the same thing. So I'm just going to put in something valid and go to the next step. So here it says enter your email address. So I put in something that is not valid, tends to enter a valid email. If I don't put in anything, it tells me enter a valid email. Once I put in something that is correct. So enabelebk@gmail.com. Cool. And then enter your phone number. So my phone number, if I put in something that is not up to 11 digits, it's going to tell me phone number must be 11 digits. So I put in something that is 11 digits. My phone number must be 11 digits. Then it's going to allow me pass. So I want to enter password. I put in something less, it won't allow me pass. Password must be less than 6 digits. Must not be less than 6 digits. So if I don't put in anything, it doesn't still allow me pass until I put in something that is 6 digits or more. So cool. So let me confirm my password. If I put in something that does not match, it says confirm password does not match password. Try again. So if I don't put in anything, it still tells me to try again. Then so I put in the correct one. By putting the correct one now, it works. Cool. So yeah, we have our get user details function working fine. Now let's do another test. Right. So if I cancel this, everything cancels, right? I press OK, can't pass on, so I put in a valid one. So let me do something. Let's put in a valid username, and then I press OK, and I'm no longer interested. I cancel, tells me enter a valid username. I'm no longer interested. I'm pressing cancel, but it still keeps on telling me enter a valid username. Cancel. It is not nice that way. The user should be able to cancel, right? So if I reload this again, see, the user should be able to cancel. Can't even reload my page. So the way we'll fix this by letting the program know that if the user clicks on cancel, it should cancel. That is, it should accept and cancel. So we're going to have something here in all the functions. We're going to come down here and have an if statement again. So we're going to say if this is going to take care of that problem, right? So if the username for everything, if username is equals to null, we don't want null input, right? So if the username is equals to null, it simply means that the user doesn't want to put anything again, or the user wants to cancel, right? We don't want null input. So if it's equals to null, we just want the program to end. So if it's equals to null, we're just going to put return here. Normally, how return works, once a function meets the keyword return, the whole function ends, right? It doesn't go down to look at what is happening here anymore. It just ends, right? So anytime I have null, it's going to end, right? This is still. So let me just add this to every other part first before refreshing that. So if username is equals to null, we want the function to return. That is, we want it to end. If it passes here and then it comes to email and email, email is null, it's going to end. But if it passes there and come here, it's still going to check if email is null, if phone number is null. So we have phone number, right? So if phone number, why am I having this red mark? Yeah, I'm supposed to have that bracket there. Oh no, I'm supposed to have the brackets here. Cool. So let's go to password. So if password is null, the user doesn't want to input anything again, should allow the user go freely, right? So I'm just going to put in password. Yeah. And then go to confirm password. Let the user go if the user doesn't want to fill in anything again. Let the user be able to cancel. So confirm password. So this should work now. So I'm just going to close this down, close it up, and then I'm going to open again with live server and see what happens. So let's see if what we have applied works. So yeah, we are clicking on username now and we're pressing OK, and it's not giving us what we're supposed to see. It's returning, it's ending. So that is why we have our console, right? So let's look at our console and check what the problem is. It says uncaught reference error null is not defined. Yeah. So that is happening because we gave her null a capital letter N. So that is not the null is supposed to recognize. So we're just going to go down and correct our mistake, right? So supposed to be small letter n, not capital letter N. Yeah. So yeah, should work now. So let me just close down this console. Fill in. So I fill in this, takes me to the next one, takes me to the next one, and I want to cancel. It cancels. So it's no longer forces me to put in something. I can cancel if I want to cancel, right? But I must put in something valid. But if I want to cancel, I can cancel. So OK works well and cancel works well.